What's going on, people? Long time no talk, I guess. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I've been trying to keep you guys posted on there. But long story short, just kind of haven't really had the motivation to record. I guess it's a few weeks now. No particular reason, just really haven't been feeling like it. And obviously this isn't my job. So if I'm really not feeling it on a given day, I just don't do it. I'd rather just not record than shovel some garbage at you guys. But for today, as you guys have saw from the title, I've made videos in the past about my feelings on the prophecy mechanic in Legends as a whole. But those have always just been like, this is what's wrong, and this is a high-level idea of how I would fix it. I figured since the Asian server is still only on the core set, I figured why not actually make an attempt at fixing it. There's going to be two different ways I go about this, and we're going to go about it one attribute at a time. The first way, and what we're going to start with, is going to be an idea that I've kicked around for a while, and I always forget the mechanic from Shadowverse when I mention it, but there's a mechanic from Shadowverse that you can essentially play a card for a cheaper cost, and it has a reduced effect. So I wanted to apply that same exact idea to prophecies and legends, meaning if you played a card as a prophecy, it would have one effect, or a lesser effect, and if you played a card from hand, it would have a better effect, or an enhanced effect, or more stats, or something along those lines. If you pay Magicka and play the card from hand, it will be better, is the crux of the goal. I had some other high-level design goals that I tried to keep in mind while creating these cards, and the essential idea behind that was the main pillar was you should not lose to a prophecy in general, meaning things like, I guess these are spoilers, but things that would deal direct damage like a lightning bolt cannot go face when triggered from a prophecy. I don't want to say you will never die via prophecy, because there are edge cases. Certain prophecies that could deal damage to a creature, for example, could kill a house kinsman, which could then deal damage to your face. So I don't want to say never, but the opportunity to lose a game via prophecy should be minimized. The opportunity to instantly lose a game from a first rune prophecy should be minimized, meaning if you hit a first rune Cloud Rest or something along those lines, it should not be an instant loss. Those are the two main things. And in general, prophecy effects should not have too much of a swing. They should provide a boost to your opponent, but they should not be deciding games or completely swinging the tide of a battle off of a lucky prophecy hit. I want to make it less punishing to go face, however, there still be an incentive to run prophecy cards in your deck. What I believe that this will accomplish is the ability to print more prophecy cards and more diverse prophecy cards. If you guys noticed on the main client, at a certain point, they kind of just stopped printing prophecies, and if they did, they purposely made them like so horrible that nobody would ever run them. I'm looking at cards like Whispering Claw Strike or whatever it was. That 6 mana, give +3/+3, deal 3 or something, whatever it was. So if you have prophecies not be so swingy, you can continue to print them in a variety of ways without completely ruining the game. So I guess that's enough of an intro. Again, I apologize for there being so long between videos. I'm not going to guarantee that we go back to daily or anything like that, but I'm going to do my best to do what we can. Today we're going to be going over the strength cards, so let's go ahead and sort by prophecy. And the first card we're going to talk about is Sharpshooter Scout. So I still haven't decided how the cards would get worded. So the way I'm going to break things down for you guys are I'm going to talk about, potential stat or cost changes, and then I'm going to talk about the effect of the card when played from hand, and then the effect of the card when played via prophecy, because that's going to be the line of delineation. I haven't really decided how it would get printed on a card. It would probably be something along the lines of prophecy text would be the additional benefit you gain, or something along those lines. I still haven't decided how it would get displayed properly on a card and not be confusing. But Sharpshooter Scout, two changes here. Slight nerf to the effect and slight buff to the card. So I did steal the stat idea from Bones. Sharpshooter Scout would go from a 1 mana 1/1 to a 1 mana 1/2, just to make the stats a little bit better. I toyed around with the idea of it being a 1 mana 2/1, But that just felt, I don't know. I still probably could be swayed to make it a 1 mana 2/1. But for now, we're going to go for a 1 mana 1/2. The effect when played from hand is the current effect, deal 1 damage to anything. And its new prophecy effect would be deal 1 damage to a creature. That is any creature, friendly or enemy. Again, this plays into my rule number 1. And as much as this is a super edge case, you should never die to a direct prophecy, meaning Sharpshooter Scout can no longer go face. Honestly, Sharpshooter Scout is not the strongest prophecy, which is why the change to the card was minimal. In fact, the card itself got a buff. I don't think it really needed to be adjusted that much, if at all. So it got a slight nerf to its effect, not really all too much of a change. And the card overall got a buff because the card overall is pretty weak. Next up, we've got Greystone Ravager. This is another card that probably doesn't really need too much of a change. And in general, it's probably pretty fine. But everything about this card is going to stay the same. It's going to stay 2 mana. It's going to stay 4/1. That will not change either way. The only difference that I would make to this card, and in general, again, it's a very minor difference, is if the card is played as a prophecy, I would give it the text cannot gain cover. That's all. This card is very balanced. I have nothing against it as it is. I think it's a fine, aggressive stat stick. The only thing I would make it feel less good as a prophecy is a cannot gain cover. But even then, I don't think it's necessarily a requirement. I think this is one that could probably stay the same. But just for the sake of argument and kind of adding intrigue to cards and duality, I added that effect to it. But again, this is one that probably is fine how it is. Next up, we've got Protector of the Innocent. Another card that's going to stay mostly the same as is. It's going to stay a 2 mana 3/2 across the board. The only difference is going to be if you play Protector of the Innocent as a prophecy, it is going to lose guard. Protector of the Innocent is another one. A lot of these cheap prophecies, cheap creature prophecies, don't really need to be adjusted. And this is another one where I think I would be perfectly fine with keeping it as a 2 mana 3/2 guard. And I still, if, like, gun to my head, implementing these changes, I would probably consider keeping Protector of the Innocent and Greystone Ravager as is, because both of those cards are pretty fine. The only thing I would ever change about Protector of the Innocent, like I said, would be to lose guard off of Prophecy. But I would give that, like, a lukewarm necessity take. Not necessary by any means. But, again, for the sake of this exercise, I wanted to try and give everything a split effect, even if it necessarily didn't need it. Next up, we've got Morkul not Morkul Gatekeeper, that's the next one. Jesus Christ. Next up, we've got Cast Out. 3 mana action. Again, cost is going to remain the same. Prophecy is going to remain the same. The only difference here, and it's going to draw allusions to Unrelenting Force, is if this card is played as a prophecy, it will unsummon a creature with 3 power or less, and when played as a card from hand, it can unsummon any creature. That is all. Again, Cast Out isn't the best card, it's actually quite bad. But again, for the sake of the exercise, I tried to give every card a split effect, so 3 power or less bounce via prophecy, and normal effect when played from hand. I could even see this card getting bumped down to 2 mana in exchange for that. I think if that split effect were to go into effect, I would probably consider bumping Cast Out down to 2 mana. Next up, we've got Morkul Gatekeeper. 3 mana, 2/2, Prophecy Guard, and on summon, give a creature +2/+0. Another card that I think can mostly stay intact. The only thing I would consider if you were to try and split the effects again, although again, I think Morkul Gatekeeper is fairly balanced overall. If I were to kind of gun to my head, make a choice, I would keep it as a 3 mana 2/2 with Prophecy and Guard, and just make the summon effect one that you would gain when playing from hand. So if played as a prophecy, this would just be a 3 mana 2/2, and when played from hand, it would be a 3 mana 2/2 guard, give a creature +2/+0. So you'd really only lose out on the +2/+0 when played via prophecy. Again, Morkul Gatekeeper I think is pretty fair overall. But again, I'm going to keep saying it. For the sake of the exercise, I wanted to make as many changes as possible. And then the final card that we want to take a look at, and this was actually the hardest one to force myself to make a change to. Because like I said before, we are forcing split effects onto every single card. Even Groutwood Ambusher, which I think is bad as it is as a prophecy. Forget playing it from hand. I think this isn't that great of a prophecy as it is, just because of the cost benefit to running a 5-cost 4/2. But I tried my best. So what I did was keep the cost the same, 5 mana 4/2. The prophecy would be the card as you see it now. Deal 1 damage to all enemy creatures in this lane. This is actually the one card that I kind of went the reverse route and gave it an indirect buff. So as a prophecy, Groutwood Ambusher would remain as is, and the only change that I would make is when played from hand, this creature would gain +1/+1. So this would be a 5 mana 5/3, deal 1 damage to all enemy creatures in this lane when played from hand, which I think is quite fair. Honestly, might even be too good at this point. But 5/3 for 5 still isn't that great. You're talking like that probably should be on a 4 mana card, so it coming on a 5 mana probably makes it more fair. And again, this card isn't that good as it is. Maybe even +1 attack. I don't know. A lot of these things I would have to test and tweak to see how I really felt about each effect. But Groutwood Ambusher is one that I think is quite a bad card as it is, so I actually wanted to try and buff it versus nerfing the prophecy effect. So that's it. There's actually not that many strength cards. That is the first batch of prophecy tweaks. Again, I'm not quite sure how I would word it on the card itself to make it super evident, but that's something I would work on over time. Let me know what you guys think of the changes down below in the comments section. I know there's probably going to be a fair amount of disagreement over things like Greystone, Ravager, and Protector of the Innocent, but I wanted to force myself to explore adjusting every single card in this set with prophecy, regardless if I thought it was fine or not. So we wound up with Greystone, Ravager, Protector of the Innocent, Cast Out, and Morkul Gatekeeper getting slightly weaker, whereas I think Sharpshooter, Scout, and Groutwood Ambusher actually wound up with a net buff from the situation. Sharpshooter Scout would be even better if it was a 2/1, but I'm not really sure how I'd feel about that overall. But yeah, that's going to be it for now, guys. Thank you guys all very much for watching. We're going to cover the rest of these colors over the next couple days as I kind of flesh out the rest of my ideas. Thank you guys for being patient with me while I've been gone. Like I said, I can't promise we're going to go back to normal. Still not super feeling it. But I wanted to hop back on the horse because we were talking about it in the TESL Asia Discord prophecy today. And it really got me motivated to kind of put my design hat on. And these are some of my favorite videos to make because I love thinking about card design. So yeah, thank you guys all very, very much for watching. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.